23andMe provides a cool service. You spit in a tube, send it off to them, and amazingly, they can use that saliva to generate all these personalized reports. I'm talking about ancestry, ethnicity, potential health risks. You can truly learn a lot about yourself by doing it. I know that this might all seem kind of straightforward and simple, but these tests have been made possible through years of genetic research, mainly the Human Genome Project. It was a massive undertaking. Starting in 1990, it took over a decade and billions of dollars to map out the sequence of the human genome. Now, I am by no means a biologist or geneticist, but to my understanding, that project made it possible for a person to have their DNA sequenced, but it was very expensive and not really accessible to most people. For example, Steve Jobs reportedly had it done for the price of $100,000 in hopes that it would help guide him toward more personally effective drugs and treatments for his cancer. But in the following years, further advancements allowed for more efficient genotyping as opposed to full-on sequencing, bringing the cost down significantly and leading to the foundation of 23andMe. That right there is a complicated name. The 23 refers to the pairs of chromosomes inside of our DNA. The "and" part is actually DNA spelled backwards, and the "me" part refers to the individual's connection to it. Plus, it rhymes. So overall, I would say a pretty solid name. The company was started by 3 people, the most significant one being Ann Wojcicki, who would go on to become CEO, chairman of the board, and 49% owner. Now, please let me take a second to express why Ann Wojcicki seems like such a perfect person to start a company like this. She grew up around Silicon Valley, where her father was a physics professor at Stanford. She went on to graduate from Yale University with a biology degree and then worked on Wall Street for many years as a healthcare investment analyst. And as if all of that wasn't enough, her sister was an important figure at Google, helping make the acquisition of YouTube happen and serving as CEO of YouTube for almost a decade. And it keeps going. Shortly after founding 23andMe, she married Sergey Brin, who was one of the co-founders of Google that early on invested millions of dollars in her company. In late 2007, 23andMe started offering their famous DNA testing kits directly to consumers for $999, a comparatively reasonable price for the time, and there was a lot of hype around it, so much so that Time magazine named it the #1 invention of the year. As time progressed, 23andMe attracted more customers, became more valuable, and continued to be praised from seemingly every direction. Notably, it was on CNBC's Disruptor 50 list 4 times in a row starting in 2016, and 23andMe slowly became a household name as it continued to attract investors. In 2021, the company hit its peak valuation on the stock market of around $6 billion. According to Forbes, Ann Wojcicki officially became a billionaire that year, and things have really taken a turn from that point. 23andMe has since lost almost all of its value. It is in danger of being delisted from the Nasdaq because the share price has fallen under $1, well under $1 in fact, so they have been scrambling to figure out how to avoid that from happening. There have been multiple rounds of layoffs, falling sales, and a lot of uncertainty concerning the future of the company. Ann Wojcicki has been pushing to take it private again, so it doesn't have to worry about all the short-term pressure from investors on the market, and that has led to everyone resigning from the board of directors, essentially saying that they weren't clear about the direction of the company, and one of those directors, by the way, was the current CEO of YouTube. She expressed how she was surprised and disappointed at the decision, so I think it's clear that things are falling apart. The company is quickly running out of money, and it is looking like they will be forced into some sort of sale or bankruptcy or something drastic to survive. There's so much happening here, so in this video, I want to talk about why everything has gone so bad for what used to be one of the most promising companies out there. My first reason behind the decline is straightforward, but failing to turn a profit. That is why they're in so much trouble right now and running out of money. The company is spending way more than it is making. The reasons behind this are going to be explained better as I continue through the rest of the list, but right away, I want to make it clear that 23andMe has never been profitable and is losing more money right now than ever before. I should point out that more than half of their most recent loss comes from a goodwill impairment, which is also still a bad sign. In the beginning, when they charged almost $1,000 for the kit, even though it was comparatively cheaper than what many others were paying in the past, it was still a lot of money. Most people simply weren't willing to pay that much, so they gradually reduced that price all the way down to $99, attracting over 15 million customers throughout its lifetime while losing money through all of it. Next up on the list, a lot of the trouble stem from the fact that 23andMe has had a lot of difficulty maintaining their customers. Let me know if this has been the case for you, but I suspect that most people are excited to take their test, receive the results, learn everything about their genetics, but once that happens, you don't really want anything to do with them. In 2019, sales from those kits started falling significantly for the first time, and a big theory going around was that most of the people who had interest in the test had taken it already. And trust me, it was a concern well before that as well. Around 2010, when they were trying to reduce that price point to make it more accessible, they experimented with required subscriptions to go along with your initial purchase. Like, when they first started charging $99 for the test, you would only be able to get that price if you agreed to a year-long $9 per month subscription, where you would receive updates about discoveries in the community specific to your DNA. That specific structure did not last long, but in 2020, they introduced a new yearly subscription for a premium service that offers additional reports and advanced features. Again, a respectable attempt to maintain their customers and keep them engaged, but it just hasn't been enough. Their latest reports show that they are losing subscribers, and it only accounts for a small portion of the revenue anyway. That is going to lead me into the next reason on my list, and that is the health value of their tests. Because it is essentially a two-part test. Part of it focuses on ancestry and ethnicity, while the other part focuses on your health. There are multiple aspects to it, but mainly they look at your DNA and determine if you are genetically at risk for various health conditions, and overall, I would say that has been the greater focus for 23andMe. They've actually had a lot of issues in doing it, specifically with the FDA. In 2010, the FDA made a rule saying that any services evaluating someone's risk of disease, much like the service 23andMe provides, must be approved before they can sell it. Well, they continued on selling it for a while without approval, so in 2013, the FDA sent them a warning about it. They were forced to stop generating the health-related reports in the US and provide only the ancestry ones. But over the next couple of years, they worked to get that approval, and by 2019, they fully shifted their marketing to center on the health aspects over the ancestry aspects. Probably a smart decision, considering that their main competitor, Ancestry.com, obviously focuses more on ancestry. They even discontinued their short-lived Ancestry Health service, helping place more of a distinction between the two. In 2018, 23andMe made this 5-year exclusive deal with a pharmaceutical company in London called GSK. The idea was that GSK would utilize the genetic data that 23andMe had accumulated from performing all those tests, and it would be used to develop some helpful drugs. Well, today, that deal is no longer exclusive, and things are looking questionable. It is a long process before a drug is approved by the FDA, like over a decade, and with 23andMe in such a shaky position right now, I don't know if they are going to survive long enough to make it to that point. Also, in 2021, I want to mention that 23andMe paid $400 million to buy a telehealth company called Lemonade, so we can see how they have progressed into much more of a health-based company, and there's been a lot of risk associated with that. It is going to lead me right into the next reason on my list that I'm going to call entertainment. I think that there is a big divide between the company and its customers, because to me, it looks like 23andMe wants to be a serious, important company that helps treat people or even save their lives with genetic information. Like, if someone learns that they have a genetically high risk of heart disease, 23andMe wants that person to talk to their doctor about how to prevent it, look into how their medications can affect it, alter their diet based on it, get additional reports, just take that information as a serious part of their health plan. I mean, they have spent a lot of money on FDA approvals and acquisitions and everything else to become more medically trusted, while most of their customers, I believe, seem to view it as more of a source of entertainment. They take the test because it'll be fun to learn about their genetics, and don't have any real plans to alter their lifestyle based on those results. If customers were taking it more seriously, I'll bet that they would be willing to pay more for that test and be more likely to sign up for the premium service. The final reason on my list is privacy concerns. Unfortunately, there are so many layers to this, but at the core, I think people are uneasy with having their genetic information out there. In 2019, remember when sales started falling significantly for the first time, and Wojcicki theorized that a big part of it was due to privacy concerns. And still today, say, now that the company is likely going to be changing owners, people that have taken the test before are concerned about what is going to happen to all that genetic data that they have accumulated. Who is going to have access to it? What are they going to do with it? And are the laws strict enough to keep everything protected? Because I guess the specific data is not protected by HIPAA that would protect it in a more traditional medical setting. On top of all of those concerns, 23andMe had a data breach in 2023 that exposed all sorts of account information from 6.9 million users, which was almost half of them. I am talking about locations, birth dates, ancestry reports, and a bunch of other information. The company said that they incurred $2.7 million in expenses directly related to it, and in 2024 there was a $30 million settlement connected to it. In conclusion, 23andMe is a mess. Something that started out so promising has quickly become a negative subject. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about 23andMe? Is it a legitimately useful service, something fun to do once for $99, or is it just something that you would rather avoid? I'm curious to hear if you have taken the test before and if you felt that your results were meaningful in some way. Overall, I'm sure that at least some of those 15 million customers have benefited by knowing more about their genetic makeup, but on the other hand, a lot of money has been lost, a lot of private information has been leaked, and as of right now, there's almost no tangible reason to believe that this company will ever be sustainable. I am just saying, if this video somehow made you want to get this particular test done, it might just be a now or never type situation for 23andMe. Also, I just want to make it clear that these are simply the reasons that I felt were the most impactful in the decline of the company, so please let me know if you think anything should be added or subtracted from it. And any other thoughts you have about 23andMe or genetic testing in general, leave them in the comments. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Thank you for watching.